I mentioned the people element, right? So there was a lot of obviously you work with people call in with their issues and they want support, all kind of different areas. So I really liked the people element of that, as well as the technology, because there are a lot of things you can do.
Right.
It's been almost 20 years, but I've been to conferences and joined talks about things that we can automate and structure, and already like 15, 20 years ago, they talked about all the things that we, in my opinion, just now started doing in terms of automating with data centers and cloud and stuff like that. That was already an idea when I started. So that technology part also I really liked. So I liked both aspects of that, and that made me stay.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting because after more than 20 years, now you become not only an expert, but also maybe a reference for other people. So this is very interesting what you are doing, Sebastian. I know that you have lived in Netherlands. You just said that in France, and now in the in the US. So based on this broad experience, how what is the way? How do you see the problems? Because I can imagine that you should see this in a different way. Hi everyone, and welcome to this first episode of the Reinvention podcast. My name is Sergio Sotelo. I am the Executive Director for DVL, and we are a non-profit organization that empowers immigrants, students, high-skilled professionals, and entrepreneurs, connecting them with education, mentorship, real-world projects, and pathways that help them grow in the US. And today, we have our first guest. His name is Sebastian, and Sebastian, I'm really honored to have you as the first guest. So welcome, Sebastian. I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Thanks, Sergio. Happy to be here. Yeah, so I'm Sebastian De Vlaam. I'm originally from the Netherlands and currently live in Massachusetts, about 45 minutes west of Boston.
Oh, wow. Okay. How long have you been living in Massachusetts?
I actually moved directly to Massachusetts when I moved to the US, which is now almost 8 years ago.
Okay, and what made you study your current profession today?
This is a great question, and I want to keep it brief. It's actually more of a coincidence than anything else. So when I finished my master's degree in computer engineering, I didn't really know what to do. So I applied for an IT consulting job at Accenture, which probably a lot of people know, but it's a large consulting firm. They had a big technology branch as well in the Netherlands when I started there. Yeah, I really liked the consulting part of it. So I sort of rolled into it more or less by accident. But I really liked it from the start, working with people and working with the technology.
That reminds me when I was a child also. I'm also an IT guy. To be honest, I didn't know I love IT until one day my father enrolled me into some IT classes, and that's where I really learned that I love IT. And then the story started, and it's been 25 years until now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's exactly the same with you. But there are so many pathways in the IT profession. So how did you end up in IT consulting and service management?
Yeah, so I told you a bit about how I ended up in the IT consulting, and since I really loved working with the people, so also the service management, I love to explain that it was a great plan with a great idea, and it worked out for 20 years. That was not the case. It was also a bit of a coincidence. So I did have a master's degree in parallel in distributed computing, which is extremely technical and really it's more like a academic research topic than anything else that you would see in real life. So as I said, when I applied to Accenture, I was more or less assigned to the service management group, really focusing on structuring things like software development, structuring software support, structuring help desk support, things like that. And I mentioned the people element, right? So there was a lot of obviously you work with people call in with their issues and they want support, all kind of different areas. So I really liked the people element of that, as well as the technology, because there are a lot of things you can do. It's been almost 20 years, but I've been to conferences and joined talks about things that we can automate and structure, and already like 15-20 years ago they talked about all the things that we, in my opinion, just now started doing in terms of automating with data centers and cloud and stuff like that. That was already an idea when I started. So that technology part also I really liked. So I liked both aspects of that, and that made me stay.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting because after more than 20 years, now you become not only an expert, but also maybe a reference for other people. This is very interesting what you are doing, Sebastian. I know that you have lived in Netherlands. You just said that, in France, and now in the US. So based on this broad experience, what is the way? How do you see the problems? Because I can imagine that you should see this in a different way.
That's a great question, Sergio. Thanks for asking that. So, as you mentioned, I lived in the Netherlands, and then I've been in the US for 8 years. And before we moved to the US, I lived in France for about 3 years. And I think the main thing I learned from that is the impact of cultural impact. So when you, at least for me, maybe not for everyone, but I lived in the Netherlands, right? I worked for an international company, so I did a lot of things in English and with a lot of colleagues. But the branch of Accenture that I started working with was pretty big in the Netherlands as well. So we did a lot of projects for Dutch companies. So you're sort of confined to your own country, your own culture, the way you grew up. But when you move to a different country, you see that the way people work, people prioritize, the way they work together, it's really different. So people, from a geographical perspective, right? France is not that far from the Netherlands. It's like 350 miles, something like that. The US will be a bit further, but there's already a big cultural differences. And then moving to the US, there's again a big difference in terms of culture and people, the way people act, the way people address certain problems. So I'm way more aware of that in terms of working with people, in terms of, okay, where are they coming from? How do they approach certain problems? What is their motivation?
Yeah. And I believe that's part of your growth, personal growth as a professional, because one thing is to work with people that with people, that live maybe in Netherlands where you are, but it's a total different story, working with people from different cultures. That's challenging at the beginning, and I believe you made it through, because now you have the capability of working with people no matter where they are, and that gives you a great advantages over others. So that's very interesting. That's a very interesting skill, Sebastian, something that I've seen in many high skill professionals like you, and I love it. So then it brings my next question, what brought you here to the US?
So maybe just a bit of a step back in terms of why I moved to France. So I worked as a IT consultant in the Netherlands, and then I worked for a large I did a large project for Fujitsu. And I worked then at that time in Amsterdam, but they had a similar project for Fujitsu in Paris. So they asked me, okay, do you want to do that project? And that project started like 6 months and then extended to 3 years. That's why I moved there. And that was also something I rolled into because I was doing apparently a great job in the Netherlands on that project, and then they asked me to do that the same thing in France. But for myself and my wife as well, because it needs to be a family decision to make such a big move, it was always sort of a dream to go to the US, to live there, to work there. It's a bit of cliche, but we obviously grew up with the Hollywood movies, right? With the yellow school bus and large lawn and nice houses, things like that. It's a bit of maybe not entirely realistic, but it's a nice dream just to experience that country that you've learned so much about, just really work and live there. And then the opportunity came up to start a subsidiary of a Dutch IT consulting company I was working with at the time. They said, okay, we want to expand to different areas in the world. They already expanded to different European countries. And next up was the US, and they needed someone to lead that.
That's very interesting, and I really like your journey, because this is a journey that maybe began 20 years ago, but I think I can imagine what's coming next, Sebastian, your journey. So this is very interesting what you are doing, and also that your family supports your vision, your dreams.
Yeah, that's really important.
Having your wife there, that's amazing. And for me, I also have my wife, always supporting us. So that's huge. That's huge. That's important, and that makes a lot. That makes a difference. So really interesting. Really interesting about that. Really happy for that too. And then another question that I was thinking about is you are involved. You just said a minute ago that you are involved in everything related to the ServiceNow world. How would you explain this to someone who doesn't know what it really is?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sergio. It's also always a bit of a challenge. So we talked a bit about service management and what is service management. Service management is basically the support function for a lot of companies, a lot of large organizations. If you have a question about your legal, about your workplace, about your IT, and the entire process that happens afterwards, when you ask that question, that is sort of a summary of service management. And ServiceNow is basically a workflow platform that supports all those processes. So it depends a bit on who I'm talking to in terms of how I explain that. But I sometimes like to ask the question, okay, let's say you're at your workplace, you're working with a computer or with a phone, or doesn't really matter. You have a problem with that. And there you go on your company website and it says, call the IT service desk. So everything that happens afterward, think about what happens afterwards that you put in that call. How did you know how to track that? How did you know how to ask for support? How to find what the problem is? Everything that happens afterwards is what we call a workflow, all the different steps. And ServiceNow is just a platform that supports that workflow.
That's interesting. And I can imagine that now with AI, things has changed or maybe have been automated. That's interesting. So, okay, yeah, that's good to know. So, Sebastian, outside the work, what keeps you grounded?
So, as I said, I've been working for 20 years. So I'm a bit on the older side. I've been doing judo for almost 35 years already. With a bit of stops here and there. So I have a second degree black belt in judo, which I really like to do. Specifically the last 2 years, I do a bit of teaching judo as well. So again, the teaching part that I also do for reinvention labs, I really like that. I also really try to be a bit connected in terms of community. I said I live about 45 minutes west of Boston, so it's a bit of more suburban area. I keep in touch with the community, so I volunteer at the Wholesome Pantry Shelf, which is a local food pantry. I do their IT and their computers, printers, stuff like that, the website.
I like that part because it is not only about how skilled you are, in your particular profession, but the gift back that you're right now giving to the world, to the state where you live, to the place where you live, to your community, as you are saying. So this is amazing. But I'm still wondering, why did you choose judo instead of karate or something?
Oh yeah, so basically my parents enrolled me when I was a kid. It's a bit of the same story as I think I've been lucky in life. My parents enrolled me because I liked to do a lot of I was pretty physical as a kid, in good ways and bad ways. So my parents enrolled me in judo to get a bit of an outlet for that, and I really like that as well. So I've been doing that for, as I said, almost 35 years now.
That's good. That's good because for example, I enrolled my kid when he was I think 3 or 4 years old in Taekwondo, and then today that we're living in the US, he doesn't want to keep practicing Taekwondo. Now he told me it's time to go into boxing. so
Right.
it changed a little bit, but anyway, that's why it is hard to continue with a discipline. Sometimes kids change, but in your case, you've been consistent with judo on the.
Yeah, it's obviously it changed a bit, right? I've never done any big competitions, so I never do that, and I don't do that anymore. And as I said, where I currently train, I have the opportunity to do some teaching as well, so I really like that part of it.
Yeah, those are great stories. I like everything that you've been doing along the years, but eventually you were brought to Dream Venture Labs. And I would like to hear a little bit more about that. How did you end up here, with DVL, working with us, also with the Build Fellowship? What clicked on you?
Yeah, of course, that's a great question. So it's a combination of things. So first of all, I was taking a career break before I joined Dream Venture Labs. So I was looking initially for a visa solution that could get me back to work relatively quickly. I want to start my own company and do my own thing a bit more than working for other companies. So that was a bit of a challenge in terms of visa, because you cannot get your own visa. It's easier now, but when I started with Dream Venture Labs about 2 years ago, that was a bit of a challenge. So that was one part of the story. The other part is that I already mentioned I like teaching, right? So the combination of the teaching and the mentoring and working with students, it was more like an added bonus, but it's really great to have that. So the combination of being able to do your own thing, 2, being able to stay in the US with a solid visa solution, and 3, being able to do the teaching and mentoring and working with students. It was a perfect fit for me.
Okay, that's great. That's very interesting. And now here in DVL, you work building projects. I would like you to maybe walk us through how this looks like.
Yeah, so I try to stay close to home, at least from my perspective, in terms of building the projects. And also get students a bit of a view into what I do in the daily life in terms of consulting, and specifically for ServiceNow. So ServiceNow is also a tool, so that makes it relatively easy to do a project around it where they can build something concrete. And also a lot of people don't know about ServiceNow or where it's used. It's a software platform that's used for most Fortune 500 companies and a lot of larger and smaller companies use it as well, but it's always in the background. It doesn't really say, on the website, we're using ServiceNow. So it's really good to get students familiar with the fact that there is more in the background happening at companies from a software and implementation perspective. And also to learn about that tool, because there are a lot of career opportunities as well. The ServiceNow market is really strong. They're looking for starters, for experienced people from different backgrounds. So that's an added bonus for students, specifically if they're approaching their graduation or looking to add additional skills and career options.
And when you take all the experience that you have, over 15 years of experience in the ServiceNow field, how do you come up with a real project? How do you know what to keep, what to cut, and what is that 20% that gives you 80% of value to the students?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sergio. I had a bit of a problem with that for the first round of project that I did. I tried to put as much as I can into it, and it's a bit of a challenge with the 8 weeks that we have. But I try to, as I just said, I try to teach them about the software and get them to learn a bit about the career opportunities around ServiceNow. But I'd also try to teach them about what I call the 3 pillars of technology consulting. That is people, process, and technology. Really get them a bit into, okay, if you're approaching a software project, it's not about code. It's not only about the tool or developing work solution. Someone has to work with it. It needs to support a certain business process. So I try to fit that element into it. But I mostly focus on a concrete real life example where they build a workflow application. They get a tangible result because they really they build something on the platform, while also trying to address, okay, what are you building and is it something people can use?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I also like to teach that what I have realized over the years is that it is very nice and challenging teaching. What surprised me now are, about this generation of students. So that's something that I would like to know what your point of view about that, because you know they are always bringing something new. So what are they bringing for you? You know that you didn't have when you were in their shoes before.
Yeah, so it's a bit from my personal perspective. If I talk to my kids, they tell me I'm old. I've been doing this for 20 years, so there's definitely different. And as we discussed earlier, right, I'm coming from a different country. So what I really admire about the students that I'm working with is they really bring that continuous learning approach. I remember when I was done with my master's degree, I thought, okay, I learned everything that I need to know. I'm just going to start working now. But the students I currently work with are really focusing on I want to build more skills. I want to continue learning. I want to really explore the possibilities. So I think that's a thing that I really see in the students that I'm working with.
Yeah,
I can't remember being that eager to keep learning, and it came later. It came back later. But I think after spending, what was it, like 6 or 7 years studying, I think, okay, I want to work now. Yeah, I really admire people keeping that focus on continued learning.
So you're right. You're no. It's a different story. It's a different way of teaching. It's a different way of learning. And if today, some students, maybe from DVL, maybe from Build, maybe from the outside, they were about to start a project, what would you advise them today before they start?
Yeah, so I can mostly advise on my own projects. My project really heavily relies on the approach. So I told about learning about the tool, but also how to work on things. And I also try to, I know it's a relatively short project with the 8 weeks, so I try to give a bit more space in terms of, okay, if you want to add more or want to explore a bit outside the lines that I've drawn for this project, there's space for that. So my project really heavily relies on the more you bring in, the more you'll learn. And it's not only about time, right? So yes, time is a component of it, but it's also in terms of participation in discussions. I try to, they get some homework and we have working sessions every week, but really participating in discussions. Can I also do this? Can I try to do it that way? That brings way more than just sitting in the session, doing the homework, and then coming back next week.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, and I think, that's really valid. So really good, really good. I congratulate you, Sebastian, with all the effort that you're doing building this project, sharing your knowledge, your expertise, your wisdom. I'm with you. I think today there's a different way of learning, of teaching. So what you're doing is great. I really congratulate you about the things that you're doing. You're doing such a great job, here at reinvention Lab. And with that, taking into consideration, I would like to talk about maybe some reflections, lesson learned, because with all the experience that you have after more than 20 years, I would like to understand from your side, from your point of view, what is that one lesson learned that you now bring, after so many years? What is that mistake, that bet or that pivot, that you wish you had known before you start?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think about it. It's been a while. I think I'd like to, there's not one specific thing. I think to generalize it a bit more in terms of, okay, I think taking the big risks. If I look back, I'm probably been lucky in my life in terms of the things that I did. But if I look at all the times that were scary, like I mentioned, I started working at Accenture right after college. I worked there for 6 years. At some point, I decided it was not for me, the place to stay. So I quit that without having anything else. I moved to France. I moved to the US. Those were big steps with a lot of unknowns, with a lot of discussion with my wife, with my family, with myself in terms of, should I do this? And they always turned out great. So the big risks, even if you don't know what's coming, quitting your job, leaving your country, they turn out great in terms of learning new things, in terms of new opportunities. So take the risk.
So that risk is not for everyone. Do you consider a risk taker?
I don't think so. Now, if I look at the way I live my life, right, with I save and I'm careful in terms of caring for my kids and for the stuff that I own and making sure I have a sort of plan for the next 2-3 years. So not really, but the moments that I felt I need to or was sort of forced into taking a big risk, that already turned out great.
Okay, it's good to hear that from you. I consider myself kind of a risk taker, but it's good to hear because, professionals like you and people who succeed along the years, at least there's a level of risk that they need to take. And you made it through, so that's a good one. That's a very good one. So thank you for that reflection, Sebastian. And now if we had to think about a lesson learned from the time you've been with us at Mentor Lab, along with our partner Build Fellowship, what is that lesson that you bring with you now?
Yeah, the main thing I like about teaching is you always learn about something about yourself or from your students. We already discussed a bit about in terms of what is different from the students nowadays that you are different from what I did. I think there's a bit of a cliche that people are stuck a bit of that in their ways, in their experience. Say, okay, they're older people and they've done it certain ways for a number of years, so that's something they're sort of stuck with. So that I always get from students, right? They have a new approach or the idea, that is great. But I think the lesson I learned mostly from doing the project with the reinvention labs is to take things back to basics. Really, we talked about that's what do you bring into that project? It's really, okay, what is the main essence of the things that we want to do, right? Is it taking small steps and being very clear in your approach? Sometimes if I work with consultancies or other companies that have a lot of experience in doing the kind of projects that I'm doing, they sort of run with all the complexity and all the different elements and things like that. And sometimes it's good to just say, okay, what is the basics and what are the small steps that we need to take?
Yeah, good. Very good, very good. That's good to know. It's also true that many people who might be watching this episode, they are maybe from our community. Maybe some of them are eager to start something in the US, but maybe they don't have the right advice. What is that piece of advice, of real advice that someone like you can give them that they might not find maybe on LinkedIn and that will help them understand what to do in the US?
Yeah, so we talked about it, of course, about reinvention labs and the Build Fellowship. So there's obviously great routes to explore if you're looking to work in the US. I think the visa thing is a challenge, right? I've been here 8 years, went to different visa, different stages, and persistence is key. And also making sure that you're maintain what you want to do and focus on the companies that can help you and also the people that can help you. So. Yeah, and I think anything you need to be here, right? It probably helps if you have a company that has a large international presence and they can help you with your visa. We did that at some point, so that helps as well. Yeah, but really trying to be abroad and then find something just because you like it, it might work. I think you need a bit of a good plan, persistence in terms of what you want to achieve, and find the right people to support you. Good.
And those are a common set of capabilities and skills that I've seen from people who, at the end of the day, succeed as you did, Sebastian. So once again, thank you for all this advice. It's been great. You've been someone with courage, who has persisted with their vision, with their purpose. And at the end of the day, you're doing great. So I would like to hear from you. How do you envision yourself in 5 years from now?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. So I talked about that. A lot of things were not really a coincidence, but sort of rolled into. So for the moment, I like the flexibility that I have. Right, I have my own company. I work with other companies. I like the projects that I'm doing with reinvention labs for the students. I'm definitely like to be doing that for the next few years. There's also, I don't want to go into it too much, but I haven't, I have a very nice house here in Holston, and one of my hobbies is to do a lot of home improvements work on that. So I did the basement, and I'm currently working in the backyard. So at some point, I think I might sort of combine that extended hobby a bit in sort of a profession. It's a completely different direction, but yeah, that's something I'm considering. I do like the software and the consulting and the working with people. So maybe a combination of both.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great. And be with your family. So that's all what I could ask. So very good. So if at some point someone would like to reach out to you and learn from you, how can they do it?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to reach out to me is through ServiceNow. Not ServiceNow, sorry, to LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, my name is pretty unique, so it's relatively easy to find. I really like to have conversations where people either are on the same path or they like some help or advice. More than happy to connect with people that need that or want to learn about reinvention labs or about ServiceNow or about consulting or moving to the US.
Well, Sebastian, don't worry, but I will drop your details in the comments. So once again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing, your journey. It's been such an amazing and encouraging journey. So thank you, Sebastian. We wish you the best, because I believe this is just the beginning. So I can imagine what is coming next in your life in the next following years. So all the best, Sebastian. And for everyone who is watching this episode, thank you for being here. And if you are maybe a student, a professional, high school professional, an entrepreneur, maybe from other country, and you are thinking about, coming to the US, finding an alternative pathway to grow here in the US, just reach out to us. Let's have the conversation and see how we can help you. And if you also want to support our efforts and our mission, you're always welcome to make a donation, and we will put in the comments all the details about this. And thank you for being in this episode, and we hope to see you in our next episode for Reinvention Labs. Thank you so much, and God bless you.